Today we're going to be discussing into the intense showdown that unfolded on the first weekend of September at the Italian Grand Prix 23. This race had it all: drama, controversy, and a lot to talk about. Let's get right into it. Before the Italian GP, Carlos Sainz was riding high as the highest-ranked driver in the championship without a podium in 2023. His Ferrari had shown great pace, and with a spectacular qualifying performance in Monza, he secured the pole position for Sunday's race, right in Ferrari's home turf and in front of their passionate tifosi. Sainz was determined to erase that blot of no podium on his record, even though a race win seemed like a Herculean task, especially with the unbeatable Max Verstappen on his tail, starting at P2. Sainz put up a valiant fight for P1, but Verstappen had his sights set on the first place. After all, it wasn't just any ordinary victory, as this win marked Verstappen beating the previously unchallenged streak of 9 consecutive wins in a season. The record was set by Sebastian Vettel, his predecessor in Red Bull, in 2013. Sainz's ability to maintain his lead surprised many, considering the Red Bull's strong race pace. Red Bull principal Christian Horner said in an interview to Sky F1, "We had to do it the hard way. The Ferraris were very quick today, and we saw that in qualifying yesterday." However, the Spaniard put up a fierce fight against Verstappen, naturally got annoyed after Sainz effectively blocked one of his attempts to get ahead during the 6th lap. Verstappen, expressing his frustration over the radio, remarked, "That was naughty." Ferrari, on the other hand, praised Sainz for his maneuver. Despite Verstappen's comments on Ferrari's top speed, he had to bide his time for an opportunity to overtake, with Sainz maintaining the lead for a few more laps. It wasn't until later that Verstappen managed to make his move, quickly managing to pull away and establishing a lead of 3.8 seconds by lap 18. The battle for P1 was definitely intense, and Sainz showcased some incredible defensive skills, but eventually he had to yield the lead to Verstappen, only to find himself pursued by another charging Red Bull, Sergio Perez. Meanwhile, Perez faced his own challenges, starting from 5th on the grid. This was due to the start being aborted and delayed due to Yuki Tsunoda's AlphaTauri coming to a halt on the first formation lap. It wasn't until he completed 32 laps that Perez managed to secure a spot on the podium by overtaking Leclerc, Sainz's very own teammate. In this epic showdown between the Mexican and Spanish, Perez's RB19 ultimately came out on top, securing the top 2 positions for Red Bull. But, and here's the kicker, it wasn't without its fair share of questionable moves from Sainz. As Carlos Sainz commented, "It was very, very tough. It cannot get any tougher than what it was today. Honestly, the whole race I was pushing very, very hard to keep the Red Bulls behind." He added, "In the end, I ended up paying a bit the price with the rear tyres, but I did everything I could to defend with all the cars that I could. I brought it home in the end in P3, but it was a tough one for sure." So, when Sainz entered the Max Verstappen podcast, the Cool Down Room, later that week, you can bet it was bound to be controversial. First, let's clarify the point of accusation: moving under braking. This move is a big no-no in the world of Formula One, meaning that when a driver is about to be overtaken by another car going into a corner, the leading driver can't change the direction of their car once they've started braking for the corner. This is the one cardinal rule every driver knows not to brake during a race, and that's precisely what Perez accused Sainz of doing during their high-stakes battle. Until lap 32 of the 51-lap race, Sainz was locked in a fierce duel with his teammate, Charles Leclerc, for P2. But when Perez overtook Leclerc on that pivotal lap, Sainz knew he had to make use of the same defensive skills that kept Verstappen at bay during the opening laps of the race. And boy, did he put up a fight! For over 10 intense laps, Sainz held his ground against Perez, but their incident on lap 43 sparked a heated argument. As they charged down the main straight, Perez, armed with the drag reduction system, was hot on Sainz's heels. Perez made a move to the right, attempting to overtake, but Sainz pulled the same move just before the braking point, effectively blocking Perez. 3 agonizing laps later, Perez finally managed to make the pass on Sainz and seized P2, leaving the Ferrari driver to cross the finish line in P3. But this move triggered a heated argument that had speculations flying and fans engaged in intense debates. In the cool-down room, Perez wasted no time in questioning Sainz. "You were moving late, right?" Sainz responded in his defense. "I was moving late, but on time, Checo. I moved a little bit, but not in the braking point. The rule says in the braking point, you know?" Perez grudgingly agreed, but Sainz wasn't done. He added, "It doesn't say before. I moved before the braking point, and then I braked." So, even though Sainz didn't technically break any rules, Perez might not be entirely convinced. The rivalry and debate between these two are likely far from over. The Red Bull team principal also supported Sergio's allegations, admitting in a separate interview that there were a few comments raised within the team over Sainz's actions. He said in the interview, "Carlos was very robust. He was a little late at times. He moved a bit. I mean, look, he's driving a Ferrari at Monza. He's going to defend for his life, so we kind of expected it." Although this issue might remain a point of contention between them, there was another topic they found common ground on later, which happens to be an interesting aspect of Formula One regulations. In 2020, the FIA banned the use of multiple engine modes. Fast forward to 2023, and we're seeing a similar situation with Red Bull and the drag reduction system. So, what happened in 2020 in the first place? The Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile, the governing body for F1, implemented a ban on the use of multiple engine modes in the sport in 2020. This decision was meant to address concerns regarding the performance advantage that Mercedes, one of the dominant teams at the time, had gained through their innovative use of engine modes during qualifying sessions. Before the ban, Mercedes had developed a particularly effective party mode, as it was popularly called, which allowed their power unit to deliver maximum performance for short bursts of time during qualifying. This gave Mercedes a significant edge, as they could extract more power from their engine than their competitors for a single hot lap, increasing their chances of securing pole position. Undoubtedly, Mercedes was one of the leading teams at the time. The ban on multiple engine modes was supposed to level the playing field and reduce the performance gap between the front-running teams and the midfield. The ban meant that the same engine setting used in qualifying would have to be used throughout the race, eliminating the party mode advantage. Similarly, it has become clear during this season that Red Bull has established an unmatched advantage with the drag reduction system. Following the introduction of the ground effect regulations in 2022, DRS has become more potent, making overtaking easier. In light of these developments, there has been an ongoing debate about the relevance of DRS, and when this issue was raised with the top 3 finishers at the Italian Grand Prix, they weighed in with their opinions. Max Verstappen shared his opinion, "No, I think in most tracks we still struggle to follow or pass." Sergio Perez agreed with him, stating, "I think definitely less DRS is not the way forward. If anything, we needed the DRS more in some places to be able to have better racing." Carlos Sainz chimed in, agreeing with his fellow drivers. "In 99% of the tracks, I think we're going to need DRS. We're going to need a powerful DRS because these cars from the beginning of the year, like Max said, it's starting to become a bit like 2021 or 2020 where it's difficult to follow." So that's the wrap on the thrilling Italian Grand Prix in 2023, filled with controversy, daring maneuvers, and a hint of regulation debate. Hit the like button if you enjoyed watching, and stay tuned for more exciting Formula One action, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.